y'all. Today we're going to be making a koala bear, and the way how we're going to do it is I'm going to be using 3mm cord, braided cord. And what I did here was I joined together two of the cord, but I'm going to redo it for you guys. So I have the leader cord. Leader cord is the cord that is going to be used for other cords to knot on. I lined my leader cord in one of my 50-inch cord that's going to be used to build the head. And what I do is I even them off together, split it in half, take that apart, and then I'm going to make what I call a crown knot hole, but I'm going to make this crown knot hole with 5 cords instead of 4. You do it exactly the way how you would make a regular crown knot. You can add as much cords as you like on here, but after you go past 6, it begins to be extremely difficult to get them tightened. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You just pull tight after you've finished that crown knot hole. Place a pin in the middle of it. And now you begin to knot. Okay, and that's where this one extremely long cord comes in, which is the leader cord. Now, the benefit of this crown knot hole is you can go around in a perfect circle for the first time and don't have to add in extra cords on it. I'm going to do my first round. Try to do this first round really tight so that all of your cords that were in the crown knot holes can not have any gaps. So after your first round from your crown knot hole, you want to add in cords. And the way how I add in cords so that they're invisible. Grab one cord, make sure that it's split evenly down the middle. Put it over the work and with a pin, hold it down and only knot one side of it to start. Grab the cord that's on the side of it, knot that one on, then use the other end and knot it in. That way your work now, you can never tell where the cord was added in. Continue on with my second round of knots, adding in cords as needed. Whenever you get a gap about this size, you definitely need to add a cord in. If you do not add a cord in, then your work will continue, will start forming a round ball, which I'm not ready for that yet. This is the very top of the koala's head. The bigger your work, the more cords you'll have to add in. sometimes you're going to notice after you add in one cord, you have a much smaller gap versus before. So what you can do is just continue on with the cord that's right on the side of it. Make sure whenever you knot it in really tight. Then you can add in the other cord. Now we're down to our last cord to be added in. Not about 2 more before I add that one in. All right, we have a big enough gap to where we can add him in. Now, after you add him in, you can still do about 1 to 2 rounds before your work starts to curl up, forming a ball. So that gives it a little more length also, making it appear a little bit bigger without adding in cords. Alrighty, now they're all added in. So what we're gonna do with the next 2 rounds is we're not going to knot as tight. I normally knot really tight. So I'm just gonna do kind of like a medium tension knot. That way I can get around another round, or at least 1.5 or 2 of them. If you loosen up the tension on your knots, you should be able to get there before everything starts curving. Now we're going to try to get the top of the head kind of looking similar to the deer's top of the head. The only difference is that this is used with one really long knotting cord and a lot of short leader cords. And this is the opposite. This has a bunch of knotting cords and one leader cord. But it is still very possible to do, no matter how are you doing it. Now I am about to be on my first round since I added in the last cord. Now you just continue around with medium tension so that it can start forming a bowl shape. Another good reason why you want to not add too much tension is because if you knot whenever you're starting to form a bowl too tight, it becomes a little kind of square shaped, if that makes sense. And we want this koala's head to be round all the way. You can also lead your cords to where you want them to go. In other words, you can form the shape that you want. If you, whenever you're knotting on, if you pull more towards this way whenever you're knotting, you'll see that's where it's going to start to go. In this case, we're not quite ready for that yet, but it was just an example to show you guys. As you can see, we're already sort of forming right here into our bowl shape. And we want this all around. Still using medium tension. As you can see, this is what it's starting to look like, which is very similar to him. For all of you guys that ask how I do this with kids, as you can hear in the background, so I am going to apologize for that. You're going to notice that your gaps in between cords now are going to start to be a lot bigger than they were before. This is about 3 centimeters. Whenever you notice that they're starting to be a lot larger, try to loosen up even more on your knots so that you don't pull too tight in that one area, causing it to have a square type look shape. Now, as you can see, this is where we had added our very last cord in. So this is the second round since we added in the last cord. And the very top of the head is starting to form. Flip it over to show you guys. So you can see it's starting to form perfectly. Now we just keep going around. Now we're gonna knot until we have about 6 to 7 rounds from the last cord that we added in. shape it a little bit. This is what it's starting to look like. You can shape it a little bit so that the head can look more roundish instead of the top being really, really flat. As you notice now, when I am knotting, instead of pulling my leader cord straight, I knot it and I pull it inward, which is how I shape the head. If you want a certain area to be poking out a little bit more, then you go the opposite way. However, I want the head to be round, so I'm pulling the cord inward. That's helping it to be a more round shape. As you can see how even though I haven't added in or taken out any cords, this area here has started to come inward a lot more. It's because of the way how I am pulling the cords, where I'm pulling it when I'm knotting it. You want this part to come straight down, which is going to be the face area. So usually what I do to figure out how many rows I need to make is I usually make, like I said, about 6 or 7 rows away from the last cord, that I added in. And then what I'll do is either eyes or nose or whatever it is that I'm adding on. Like test it to see, like that I can figure out more or less how many rows I have to go. Example, I don't have the eyes right now with me, but I do have the nose for the koala, which this will be his nose, and his nose will be about here, I would say. So I'm looking at about 10 more knots, 10 more rows, sorry, before I can start taking out cords. My last cord added in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not sure what's going on here, but I seem to have a little snag. Now, I just want to let you guys know that if your head is not looking exactly like mine, or if it even looks better than mine, you're still good, because what makes the koala are the ears and the nose. So it doesn't really matter if your head is not perfectly round, or if it's a little funny looking shape. It doesn't really matter, because once you add the ears on and you add on the eyes and the nose and everything else, this kind of just disappear. You can always shape it a little bit. I'd like to push the top up, not the very, very middle, because that's the easiest part to shape, because it's not knotted that tight. Because of the crown knot hole, it's very difficult to knot them tight, or at least I find it difficult to knot them tight. So I always push up the cords that's around the crown knot hole, giving it a little more rounder shape. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What also helps me a lot on getting my animals just right, I always keep a picture up with what I'm doing so that I can look at it and try to go off of that one picture. So after the eyes and nose, you have a kind of a quick close-in for the koala bear. So let's do our little measurement again. So the eyes go about here. This is also going to be pushed up a lot easier too, because we're gonna stuff it with plastic bag. So this is about here is where we're gonna go. So I would say we got about 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 more rounds, sorry, before we start taking out cords. So what we'll do is we'll put a marker in it so we can know once we reach that 5 or even 4, you can go 4 as well, because once you start taking out your first couple of cords, you don't really notice that much the decrease in the shape. so since I've put my marker in, I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna just go around and make the 5th. You'll notice a few of the cords are going to start to be really short. Your cords are going to be a little longer than mine. I've never made a koala bear before, so I just kind of wing a lot of it. Sorry about that. However, you won't have this problem because your cords are going to be measured out a little longer than mine are. Alrighty, so let's count again so we can see that. Hope you guys can see this, but this is the marker here, which is a pin. Now I've added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now what I want to do is find my last cord that was added in, which is over here, and that's where I want to end my knots, my rounds. Now, as you can see, like, I'm gonna place the nose in, which is a little bit difficult. So this is where his little nose would be at. And then up here would be the little eyes, and then the ears, which are really going to be really big, make him super cute. So what we can start doing also here now is decreasing, because let's just say like the koala's face is about that big. So I'm going to take the nose out in the marker since we've completed where we want it to be at. And in some of the rounds in the beginning when we were adding them in, we would add about 2 to 3 cords in on each round. So what I'm going to do is knot my longer cords. And once I reach to a cord that it's short, that's the cord I'm going to take out, which I'll take this one out. I usually just tuck them inside and continue knotting. Now don't knot a lot tighter because now there's a gap right there. Continue knotting the same tension that you were using before. Now I'm coming around to some very short ones. Now I'm going to take him out. Not on this one. What I'm going to do is I'm only going to take out about 4 cords on each round. I didn't remove this one because I was taking too many out from around the same area, if that makes sense. And there we go. Now, just like in the beginning, when you added in your last cord and we were able to do about another round and a half before you start seeing the results from it. This here is the same thing. Like, you do this whole row here and then won't be able to see anything until you get to your another row. I'm gonna also take this one out, which makes 5 cords that I took out in the beginning. Now, I always try to take my needles out from the middle because I've had several times where I enclosed the whole thing and forgot that the needle was in the middle there holding it down, which is not fun to get out after. I'll tell you what, to make it even, we took out 5 cords. So now we're going on our second round. As you notice, this cord's right here, which is the first cord that we took out. So now to kind of make it even, I'm going to try to take out another 5 cords. Now, if you were trying to make something enclose super fast, you would take out a lot more cords. Like, if you wanted this whole area to be flat, you would take out about every other cord all the way around, and then that was going to enclose it flat, because we're not trying to do that. We're trying to still have a sort of round up shape. We take out every few cords. So I'm going to take 5 out from this row like I did with the first row, and then I'm going to probably take about 6 out from the other row, because I only want about 4 rows from where the nose is going to be. Oops, sorry. So let me pull this up so you can get a little view of what's going on here. As you can see, this is my koala's head, and I wanted to point out something to you guys. If you notice, the top right here is bigger than here. It's because I tightened up my tension on these knots versus this one here. don't do that. Try to maintain the same tension on your knot so that your head can be perfectly round and not end up like mine, which in a way you won't notice it once I add in the ears and everything, but try to keep the same tension so that yours can be perfect. Where were we? Oh. I'll tell you what, I'll just knot this one on. You can always put a little more tension too whenever you're starting to do about like the neck area. And that way it starts to form a lot easier and faster instead of the whole cord removing thing waiting for that too. Oops. Okay, so just so we can see where we're at here. A little of where we'd be at. So now here is where we need to kind of close it off to be really, really small under here. So I have a bunch of short, extremely short cords, which I need to be a tad bit longer. So I'll have to end up adding in some cords. So usually what I do so that you don't see that gap, I do a half a knot on one and the cord that I want to add in. I add it on and pull it tight, and that way whenever time comes around that I need to get rid of him, you just stuff him in there like all the other cords, and then you have one cord that's long. I'm going to go ahead and stuff him in there too. Use the next cord. Keep going. I'm going to get rid of both of these because I'm replacing one of them with the other piece of the cord that I just added in. Now here I'm pulling a lot tighter because I'm trying to get this neck area enclosed. So I'm gonna get rid of that one, not this one. Get rid of these two little extremely short ones here, and repeat the adding in of cord where I just do half. And I add on one more. Now the reason why I do half is because that cord is already attached on here. So by doing the half, I enclose that gap before adding this one in. If I would have just gotten rid of this and added in, it would have actually have a gap there, which you don't want. So since he is my next longest cord that I have, that's the one I'm going to knot on. If it's too short to knot on, what I do is just repeat the half and bring the other cord over. Here I'm going to get rid of both of those and knot tightly. Make sure that these are pulled in properly so you don't see them. See where they were taken out. Now this should be good. And ending, this is it. This is the koala's head here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my cords on for the ears. Then I'm going to stuff this with plastic bag. You always add your cords on first before stuffing it, because sometimes whenever you're trying to get your cords in there, which I use a tapestry needle to do that, sometimes you pull a little bit of the plastic out, or it's hard to get in there because you're stuck on a piece of plastic. Okay, so now to add in your cords, you can use a tapestry needle, or you can use a crochet needle with an eye on the other end. Now, adding on his ears, the koala's ears are more on the side than they are on the top of the head, which is another good reason why I always keep the picture of the koala bear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave about this much. This is a gap. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'll start adding on about here. And just do kind of like a marker, I guess, so I can know where I'm starting from. And then I usually always just eyeball it to make sure it looks even. So from here to here, and I'll say about to about here. Should be okay. Okay. So now adding on my cords. I said I'm going to add on about 8 of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the other cord starting right here. And try to get it to pop out in the very next row. The reason why I'm adding the cords in like this instead right next to the first one that I just added in instead of the next row is because here we're doing kind of like a curve because we're going from the top of the head to the downward. So you want to make sure that you got enough cord that it doesn't create a gap. Repeat that again about twice. One, two, three. 4. Is it 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. 5. So now this very last one, we're going to go on the other row and pop through at the bottom. And kind of give it a little look to see if those ears are going to be big enough, which I think that they will, because here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in total the ears is going to be 8 cords. So this is how we are going to add on the other 2 cords. These are your 18-inch cords, and here's your other 2 cords for the ears that is 46 inches. So what you're going to do is we're going to add this cord in. Sorry, let me get it turned. Leave a little length here. Just gonna pull it down with there. And we're gonna add it on. Try not to pull the cords that you're knotting on too tight, because remember that that's only half of the cord and the other half is on the other side. And if you pull too tight, it will pop out. But do try to get your cords, make this cord knotted on them as closely together as possible. Now this that we're doing here, it's what's going to add a little kind of roundish feature to the koala's ears. And this is what it sort of looks like. Now, your other 45, you're going to repeat the same thing, only this time you're adding in the ends of the 45 that you just added on. Now you can pull a little bit. It can be pulled a little bit tighter now because it's already knotted on there, so it's a little more difficult for them to pop out. That's how you add on your first rows for the koala bear's ear. All right, guys, so for this next part, I'm going to be doing something that I've never done before, and I hope it works. Here we go. What we're gonna do is, you notice this last cord here, which is the ends of the 45 that we added in. I'm going to add my knotting cord in on both of them, but this time I'm going to leave a slight little gap like that on it, and then I'm going to continue knotting all the way down. And this is what I'm going to do on both ends. Leave a tiny little gap. Your gap can go about a little bit longer than this. The gap is actually going to be, that's going to be cut, and then we're going to comb it out. That way the koala bear's ear has a little fluff on the end. As the koala bear ear starts to get roundish off. So we might have to add in a cord about here and about here. So let's just grab another 18. And the way how he's added in. To kind of close off that gap, I'll do one little knot. And then I'll try my best to get it on here. And then knot on it. Skip. Knot on the cord that's already there. And then the other end of the one you just added in, knot on that one. Now you have to make sure that this cord here, which is in the middle of both of them, is knotted on very tight, because that is where you're going to be closing off that little gap. You might just add in one cord. Now, as I said before, I've never done a koala bear before, so I'm just adding and doing as I think would look great on the koala bear. Whatever I'm adding on here, whatever I'm doing, you guys will have the correct amount of cords for it. I've also never done a pattern like this before either, so you guys will have to excuse me if I mess up somewhere and have to go back and fix it, or so on and so forth. So it does look like we would have to add in that one extra cord right here. So grab another 18, repeat, then add in. Braided cord is extremely difficult to get a needle in sometimes, because I knot so tightly that I can't get the needle in there. Sorry about that. Pull the needle out. Again, the one that was added in, we go under the one that's next to it. This is where we go on extremely tight. Then we add that extra one in and repeat with going tight. Now our bear, the ear is starting to fan out a little bit, which is what we want, because their little ears are really, really round. Now we're going to be able to go and do another round without adding in cords, because we knotted this one, the ones that we added in, so tightly that it's a little hard. Ugh. That's fine. Now we should be able to do one more round without adding in any more cords. In order for the ears to still fan out a little bit, I recommend knotting a little, just a slight lighter on this row. So what we're gonna do here now on this end is we're gonna actually leave this cord out. We're gonna do one row, leave this one out, skip to the next one, and again down here you want to knot the both of them in, but leave a gap. Make sure that you're knotting it on there very tight. Leaving a little gap. Now since we're going on the way up, we're going to repeat the exact same thing that we just did. Now here on this cord, we're also going to skip over him and go to the next cord, knotting it very tightly, and then we continue on. Now what we're trying to do here is create kind of like a little bowl shape here on the end. So now let's skip out one more, which would be sort of in the middle. Not very tightly. Continue on. Now the one that we skipped out down here was the third to the last, which would be this one. We add in, skip, knot tightly, and knot on this one. And now we kind of have like a little fanned out ear. And now what we're gonna do here now is, let's see, about 1, 5, 2, 4, 5. Now let's do 4. Because we want a more of a little round look, so these 4 will skip out. skip them out, and we'll knot onto these, which is 2, 4, 6, 7. And what I'm going to use to knot on it is this cord here. Seems to be my longest cord. I'm going to cut to about right there. Knot it on, leaving just a tad bit of an end. Now knot on there. And what I'm going to do here again is I'm going to knot on 3. And I'm going to leave the middle one out. And knot on the other. Make sure 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 4. Okay, that looks like it. Okay, now let's leave these. And now what we can do is the koala ears. What you can do is you cut all of your cords, cut them off that they have a little length left to it, about right here. The ones that are in the back, you can cut them off shorter because they're in the back, unless you want to fluff them out too, that's fine, it doesn't really matter. And we're going to comb out these little ears. Don't forget to get the little gaps here as well, the little gaps that we left. Cut those also. And we're going to fluff out the little ears, comb it out. Okay, so if you guys have a really fine teeth comb, you can do it with that. I don't have a comb because I've rarely ever loosen anything out like this. So I just use a sharp tool to get it done. Okay, so now that I have all the little ends, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little shape because I want it to look really, really round. So with a sharp pair of scissors, give it a little shape. See, like the little top right there. I want it to look really roundish. And just repeat it on the other side. And if you guys remember earlier how I told you guys that I made right here a lot bigger than down here. As you notice now that the ears is added on, it doesn't really matter. Like if you cover this half of the face and you look at just this half, you don't even notice that up here is bigger than down here would have been. And if you add in the little eyeballs, which eyeballs are really close to the nose. Now the eyeballs and the nose, you guys can find these on Amazon. And that's a part of the little koala's head. You're just missing the other ear, then it will continue with the body. Okay guys, so now that we have both of the ears made, what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to stuff inside of the head with plastic bags. These are bags that I get whenever I order product. Most of my product comes in plastic bags. I'm sure yours does as well. So what I do with the plastic bags is reuse them in my work. I'm gonna put one more, which should fit, but usually it starts to be a little harder. Okay. Now that I've got them in there, kind of feels like you can hold another one, like a small one. I think we can go ahead and put one more in there. Okay. All right. Now that this part is all done, I want to do another round. At least my round will be ending about right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that one in there because he's super short. So is this one. Let's see if we can make one knot with it. Usually what I do is whenever it's too short like that, I grab this and then I pull it and meet another one. This way he kind of sort of have a little bit of neck, but I don't want too much. Too much neck area, so I'm gonna just do one round for now. If we need, we can always just eyeball it and see if it, what else it needs. If we need to go a little bit more on the neck or not, we just leave it like this. So so it's kind of weird, but mine row sort of ends right there, or at least it looks like it from this point. Yeah, so this is kind of where we'll stay, and we'll leave these cords here like this because we're gonna need them for attaching to the body. So this is the koala's head and his little ears, and we'll get started now on the body. Okay, so the body part is made almost the same way as we begin the head part, except I'm going to do, instead of with 5, I'm going to do a knot with 6. So I'm going to grab one of my cords and my leader cord. I'm going to make sure that it's the same length as one of the knotting cords. Once I have the middle of that cord, I go ahead and I form a crown knot with 6 cords. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more. Attach. And then pull them tight. Okay, now you find your longer cord and begin knotting. This here, you want to try to knot it as tight as possible so that the crown knot hole can enclose and not leave a gap. Mine kind of sort of always leaves a little hole in the middle. The more cords you make this knot with, the larger the hole will be, or at least that's what I think. Now, just like the body, you're going to go all the way around, adding in each cord. All right, now that we've completed our round, this is where my last cord was added in. Now I'm going to do, just like the way how I did the head, I'm going to do about one more round before it starts to curl or form into a bowl. Okay guys, so we're now at our last add-in. So now what we're gonna do is whenever we're knotting on, we're gonna knot on and pull our leader cord towards the middle. Go all the way around with that. Okay guys, we've made it to our second round. Here is our last cord that we added. So now we're at our second round. And just like before, we're going to try to shape it out a little bit. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go and we're gonna do 2 or 3 more rounds. I'm gonna go ahead and do 3 rounds. So 3 more rounds. And then we'll add the head on. Alrighty guys, so I did 1, 2, 3, 4. I did 4 rows added to it. Now what I'm going to do is work it a little bit where I pushed not the middle, but around the middle up a little bit to kind of get a better shape to it. This is kind of what I'm looking for here. And this is where the koala's head would be added on. Now we can do it to where we add an extra row in the front here so that the koala's head can kind of be tilted a little bit. One more row. But what I'm working on is, this is the koala that I'm working on. So the head is not going to be tilted, it's going to be right on the body. And you won't notice much of that because the little arm is going to come across holding on a piece of driftwood. So this is what the way how I want to make it, like this, and he'll be on a piece of driftwood. But if you guys want to make it different, you can always add extra rows in the front on about 2, 4, about 6 cords, look like would be the middle of it. Get an extra piece of cord, you just add it on and knot these on the cord that you're adding on and make another row. So now we're going to work on adding the head on. Okay, so the way how we're going to add the head in is we're going to use our crown knot hole as the middle. So we're just going to work these cords in around that middle area. Alrighty guys, so I've pulled the cords through. So you can see they're right here. I have some really short ones, so I'm going to pull those as tight as I can get them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some fabric glue on these extremely short ones. And the ones that are not as short, I'm going to put a knot on them to secure them. It's nothing special, no special knot, just do a knot just to secure them in there. This one here is going to have to get a little glue on as well because he's super short. Make sure to pull them tight so that you don't have any gaps between the neck. Okay. And here it is. And you push it down, push it up, sorry, a little bit, forming it a little bit more. And here we have the beginning of the body with the head attached. Now I'm just going to cut these cords out. There we go. And if you want, you can put some glue on it. I'm going to put some glue right here because these were the short ones that couldn't be tied in. But you can put some glue on there to make sure that it doesn't come loose if you like that. And now the head is about 4 inches. So now the head is 3.5 inches. So we're gonna want the body, since this is 3.5 inches, we want the body to be probably like 1 inch more than the head, or 1.5 inches more than the head. All right guys, so I've knotted in an extra 3 row, 1, 2, 3 to it. So because he's going to be holding on to a piece of driftwood, the back will have to be curved so that it can make sense. So this is the way how it's going to be, and now this area here is going to have to curve down to make him look like he's the way how it looks on the picture that I showed you guys earlier. So what I'm going to do is split my cords in half, which this looks about right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's got to be 10. So now, using just some scrap cords that I cut off from the ears is what I'm going to use to attach on here. To make the body to start forming. So I'm going to use this one piece that's kind of long. Got a little knot in it. I'm going to add it on here, just like that. And I'm going to go in the same direction that I was going with my previous cord. So I'm going to knot all the way around. Okay, I've reached all the way around of those, so I'm going to get rid of that cord, and I'm going to do another one, except I'm going to take out the first 2 and the last 2 cords of the 10 cords that we're knotting on. So I'm going to put this on here. And again, do another row. Okay, I've just reached the end again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a marker so that I can know what 10 cords were knotted and what 10 cords were not knotted. So now I'm going to go or do one more round with my original working cord. Okay, so I did my round. Now what I'm going to do is add in another cord, and this cord is going to go around the same 10 cords. Okay, now that we're here at the end, we're gonna do another round with our original knotting cord. So we put this one in and then we come around once again with the original knotting cord. Okay, we just came around with another row. So let's check it out, see what it's looking like, and see if we need to add in more cords to still create. So this is what it's looking like. The little arm's gonna be right here. Push it up a little bit while I still can. This is so far what our koala bear is looking like. And we're gonna go, probably gonna go another few more rows. And it looks like we definitely need to add in about 2 more cords. The body in the front is about 3 inches, and in the back it's about 3.5 inches. So we're gonna go ahead and repeat the previous step, sorry, 2 more times. So we're gonna add it in on the 10 cords, and then you go around again with your original leader cord, and then again you add another cord for the 10 cords, and then one more time you go around with your original leader cord. Okay guys, so now that we've added 2 more rows to the front and 4 more rows to the back, we'll remove our marker pins. And to get a better look at what the koala is looking like. So this is where we're at with the koala. So you can see all of the extra rows that we added in right here. Now we're gonna enclose this part here. Okay, so now we're gonna start removing cords, and instead of it being the way how we did it here, where we were removing just a few cords so that we can create kind of like this shape here, a neck, this one here is going to be totally different because now we need to just close the whole thing down. That would complete the body. So now the way how I'm going to remove the cord from here will be probably gonna do remove a cord after every 3 cord has been knotted on. Kind of like this. You knot 1, 2, 3, and then you get rid of that one. And you repeat that until you get back here to your first cord you took out. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all of the cords out so it don't be as messy. And these cords, we're going to save them because these are the cords that we're going to use to make the arm and the legs. So once you get rid of all of these cords, now you're going to do the same thing that you just did. My goal is to enclose this with 3 to 4 rounds. So now what you're going to do is every 2 cords that you're not, you're going to remove the 3rd cord. So he'll be removed. We'll put our marker there. And we're going to repeat this step all the way around. Okay, so once again, we're going to remove our markers and we're going to cut these cords out. And now before continuing, we're going to stuff it with plastic bag. The plastic bag is going to help us to hold the shape. For example, if you notice some parts of it looks a little squared off versus the other parts, it's kind of roundish. So you stuff your plastic bags in there. And then that's going to help to hold the shape a little bit. So now that I've got the bags in there, I'm going to try to shape it the way how I want it, which here I want to be a little rounder versus square looking. None of which you will notice once you put the arms and the little legs on. Once you have it nicely stuffed, Now we're going to continue on. Here now we're going to take out, after you knot one cord, you're going to take out the second cord. So every other cord you're going to remove. Okay, so now this is what we're going to do. I just knotted one and I tuck one in. Knot one, tuck one, and you repeat this same pattern all the way around. Okay, now that we're all the way around again, we're going to cut out the cords. I'm going to just stuff them in there. And I'm going to stuff my last plastic bag in here now that the hole is a lot smaller. If you feel like yours can probably hold another bag, I would say go for it. Now to do this final enclosure, I'm going to get rid of one cord, the very first cord, knot the second one. It's kind of repeating what we did before, except we're not going to go all the way around. We're only going to take out 4 of them. Third. Now the fourth. Okay, now we're going to cut these cords out. Stuff this in, and you're going to be left with a little hole. Now this little hole, what we're going to do here is pull this 1 liter cord as tight as possible. We're going to cut these cords, but we won't cut them too close that they will unravel. Now that you've cut these cords off, what you're going to do is, with a sharp object, you're going to just tuck these cords in. Now, we had a bunch of scrap cords left over from the body. I would say try to use the longest cords, about 18 inches or longer. So we're going to add these cords in exactly the way how we added the cords in for the ears. The only difference is that now we have some plastic in there, so it's going to be a little bit harder to do so. But we're going to add them in. Kind of like in the same place where we're removing the needles from, the pins from. All right, guys, I've added on 12 pieces of cords on here. And because the leg of the koala has a circular shape at the top, I'm going to be starting knotting from the very top, which are going to be these first 4 cords. Now, how this works is I'm going to grab a piece of scrap cord, and that's going to be my knotting cord. And my cords that I added on, these here are going to be my leader cords. So once you get this here on, probably should use a shorter cord, but what you're going to do is cut it off. Now you're going to knot over 6 pieces of cord, the same way you just knotted over the first 4. Right here you want to knot kind of tightly so that they can be close to each other. Now, again, you repeat the same process. The only difference is now you're going to do it with 8 pieces of cord. Again, you try to get this on here as tight as possible. Since you already have a couple rows on it, you can pull on it a lot easier now and it won't slip out of place. Now this is where it begins to get a little tricky because, again, this is what we're using. So what I have in mind is we go ahead, we repeat the same process where we add in an extra cord, except in the back here, we're gonna add in 2 cords versus in the front, we're only adding in 1. Why are we doing that? Because this part in the back here has to have more of a shape while you can't go as far because you have to put the little feet. So that's why we're going to do it that way. Grab another piece of scrap cord and we'll knot on. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now in the back here, we're going to add 2 of them in. So this one, try to do it as tight as possible. Because they're the same cord, you can always pull now on the other end since the first end is already knotted in. Okay. Now this is where we're at with the koala bear. Now we're going to repeat that same step again by adding 1 in the front and 2 in the back. The only difference is now we have to remove cord from here while we're adding in. So grab another scrap piece. We add it on, and I'm gonna remove it from the 1, 2, 3, this cord. So I'm gonna remove it, not tightly. Now this would be the third, so I'm going to remove this one. Again, not tightly to cover my tracks. And we're going to add in 1, 2. Now we can get rid of the cords that we took out in the very end here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to split this in half, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6. And what we are going to do here, because the little feet would be popping out about right here, we can't knot any farther until we've complete this section here. So what I'm going to do is get a short piece of the scrap cord, and I'm going to add it on right here. And continue knotting. Only this time I'm only adding in 1 on the end here. And what I'm going to do right here on the second one, I'm going to remove the third and knot on the fourth. Again, we get rid of the end. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to skip this 1 cord, and I'm going to now knot these 6 cords. So again, I get another short scrap piece. Add it on. I have it knotted onto 2, so my third, I'm going to get rid of the third and knot on the fourth. And knot on the new cord that I'm adding in. Get rid of the 1 cord at the bottom. And as you can see, this is what it is looking like. So now what we are going to do here, putting them all back together, we're going to skip out the first 2 cords and we're going to get another scrap cord, one that's kind of long, and we're gonna knot very tightly right here because this is where we've removed a cord and it has a little gap. So to get rid of that gap, we're gonna knot very tightly here. Okay. Now we're going to knot on, we did the first and the second, so we're gonna remove the third. Not very tightly so that the leg can start forming. And again, right here, we're going to remove the third cord to the end. So get rid of this one. This would be the third. We're going to get rid of it. Continue on knotting, and we'll also add in this one here that's at the bottom. Oops, I pulled it a little bit too tight. Get rid of that end. And now you can see how it's, you can see how now it's starting to look just like that. So all we have to do now is, now we're going to add in, since we skipped out 2 of them before, now we're going to skip out 1 of them. Get rid of our cords at the bottom here first. Now these are the cords we're going to be working with, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 cords, but we're going to remove 2 of these cords, so we'll only be knotting on 8. You take out your first cord, which we've done already. Get a scrap piece of cord that's a good little length. Now repeat again. We knot on, only this time instead of getting rid of the third cord, we'll be getting rid of the second cord. So now I'm going to jump over here. Again, knotting very tight. So here we're going to get rid of, in the back area, I'm going to get rid of this cord here, which is, I still have 2 cords before I get to the end. So the back area is going to be the third cord I'm going to get rid of before I get to the end. And I picked that cord because if you noticed, there's a pattern here where I'm removing from the same one and continue on this one, so that I can create a circular shape, forming the leg better. Now I'm going to continue on, and of course I'm going to add in the cord that is at the very bottom. Now right here, you can see my end, so I'm just going to tuck that in. Okay, now we're going to get rid of the cords that we removed. Okay, so this is where we're at so far. Now, what we're going to do here is we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 cords that we're working with. Now, you're going to take out 2, 4. And you're going to start from the 5th cord. So find a scrap piece that's not that long. You add it in on the 5th, and you remove the 6th cord. You knot on the 7th. You remove the 8th cord. You knot on the 9th, you knot on the 10th, and now we're going to add in one cord, the one that's at the very bottom. Again, we're going to cut the end from our knotting cord, and we're going to get rid of the cords that we just took out. And this is where we're at. Now here, we're going to add in a new cord in the beginning. So we'll get a scrap piece. We're going to add in. Not very tightly. And now we're going to remove, since we added one cord in, we just knotted on 3. So we're going to remove this 4th cord, which originally was just a 3rd cord. We're going to remove him, because remember now our goal is to get this going in this angle. Now we're going to also remove this one. Remove again. And we're going to add a cord in the back. Now once again, we're going to cut out all of our cords that we no longer need and no longer working with, which are 4 of them. I'm sorry, 3 of them. Cut, and I like to tuck them away. And this is so far what we are working with. We have a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 cords, including the one that has not been added in yet. Okay, so now to continue on, what we're going to do is we're going to skip over the very first cord. We get a scrap piece, we add it on. And now we're going to skip over that second cord. We knot on the 3rd, skip the 4th, knot on the 5th, skip the 6th, knot on the 7th. And you're also going to add in. Sorry, I forgot to cut this one. You're going to add in a cord here at the bottom. Make sure this is all tight. Now we're going to get rid of our cords that we just removed. Tuck these in there so we can see what we're working with. So now we have a total of 2, 4, 6, 8 cords. Now we have 2 more cords that we have to add in. So now that we're working with 8 cords, we're going to add in all of our cords. So another scrap piece. And we're adding all of them on now. Make sure to knot tightly so that you can stay with the form that we were trying to get. And of course, we're going to add in the last cord here at the bottom. Now that all of our cords are added in, what we're going to do now is do 1 round with all of them kind of enclosing the whole 3D area here. Because if you noticed, this is what the bottom here looks like, which we can still see the remainder of the cords, and it's not quite enclosed. So now we're going to enclose it. Okay, now to enclose it, I'm going to start from this cord here. And I'm going to make sure that I tuck this end in before continuing. Knotting very tightly. And this kind of complete the whole enclosure. And I'm going to cut the end and tuck it in. Now this is where we're at. So now here we have to create the little feet. So now to create the little feet, I have to flip them around. Flip him this way. And now I'm going to be working upwards with him. Okay, now guys, I'm sorry I had to actually flip it around because I couldn't work with it the way it was. So I'm going to start with these first 3 cords, and what I'm actually going to do, because it will be too big, I'm going to remove this one middle cord. So I'll leave him here like this. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add on my cord. And I'm going to cut the middle cord. And I'm going to stuff my end as well as the middle cord inside. And then I'm going to go to the second cord. Now these 2 cords here, I'm going to knot these together like that. And I'm going to cut them. And here I'm going to turn back around, and I'm going to do another, turn back around again, and do another. And then I'm going to fold this upward like this. And now this cord, not the cord you were using to knot on, I'm going to cut this cord off because I don't want you guys to get confused with this. I'm going to cut this off and I'm going to tuck it in. This cord here, because we only need 4 cords to make the little toes. Okay, so I cut the cord off and I'm going to use this cord to do one really tight knot. I'm sorry. I have to add in this middle cord here. And now adding the in cord here. And I want you guys to see what I did here, so I have to pull him up. This is what we are currently working on, because this is how he is going to be holding on to the branch. So this is what we have left here. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we can flip him back now. Sorry about all the flipping. And these 2 cords here, we're going to use to create a toe. These 2 cords here, which this one is the leftover in the middle here, is what we're going to use to create another toe. This is the middle one, so he's going to be a half a knot. I'll do a full knot, longer than the rest. And now we're going to cut this off and add it on here. And this is the koala's little feet. So we're going to cut these really, really close, and then we're going to add fabric glue to make sure that they stay in place and don't unravel. Okay, now let me show you guys what I did. That's the little koala's feet, and this is his back leg. Now the arm is going to be a little bit longer than the leg, and it's going to be a lot less work, but this is what we're going for. Now let's get started on the arm. Okay guys, I've outlined for you guys with some pins so you can kind of see where I'll be putting the cords for the arms. So go ahead and grab 6 scrap pieces of cord and put them in this lunar shape. And if you guys don't have enough scrap cords, just go ahead and cut pieces of cord from off of a spool. 18 inches will work perfect, because these cords they're just there to be knotted on, so they don't need to be that long, but you don't want them short either. So if you guys need more pieces of cord, you didn't have enough scrap cord, go ahead and cut some. Now I'm going to add these in here, and then we're going to make the arm. Have the 6 pieces of cord added in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with these 4 pieces of cord, leaving out this 4 and this 4. And similar to what we did down here with the leg is what we're going to do up here. So ouch. I'm going to get a small scrap piece of cord, and I'm going to add it on. And just like we did with the leg, I'm going to just knot on those first 4. And now I'm going to just cut out the unwanted pieces and grab another piece of scrap cord, and just like we did with the legs, I'm going to add into, and add into. Okay, now that we've added in all of our cords, this is where we're at. This is what it should look like after adding in all of the cords. Now to complete this step here, we're going to have to add a longer piece of cord to knot on here. So I'm going to flip him to the end that's easier for me to work with. Okay, now I'm going to start knotting from under here. On the very, oops, sorry. Now I'm going to knot all the way around, making a full row. Okay, now that I've reached here to the end, I'm going to cross over, pulling tightly, and knot again on the very first cord in the beginning. Okay, now that I've crossed over, I'm going to go all the way around. And every time I am crossing over, I'll go a little bit tighter until the arm starts to get smaller and all of the cords are joined together. I'm now on my second. So as you go around, try not to make it as tight. If you notice, this is the gap that's left now. This is the second round I've done. So the third round, sorry, still won't connect them all the way. There'll still be a little gap in between there because you don't want to connect them as fast because it's going to make the arms look kind of weird instead of the way how they should look. So let's do another round. And the good thing about the way how it's built, because of it being hollowed in the middle, you can always press on it and get it the way how you want it to be. So this one, like I said, it's going to come out to about right here. And There's going to be, after we connect them together, we might end up doing about 2 more and then removing cords to bring it to the smaller area of the arm, and then we're going to make the hand. So let's just continue round with this last round, this other round here, sorry. Okay, I'm going around now, and I am going to knot under here. And crossing over to the other side. Like I said, you still have a tiny, tiny gap, so it won't be as tight as this here, because we're trying to move slow instead of moving really fast. Tightening it together would make it look a little weird. So now that we are here with the third one, bless you. What we're going to do is we're actually going to remove, since we did the round 1, 2, so we're going to remove the 5th cord, and we're going to head over to the knot on the 6th. We're going to knot on the 7th, and we're going to remove the 8th. Okay, now we are going to remove these 2 cords and continue knotting. This would be where the arm connect, so kind of where the elbow area would be. That's why we took out those 2 cords. So now we're crossing over to the other. Now they're fully connected. So now we're going to do 2 rows without removing cord. Go around 2 rows without removing any cord at all. Now that I've completed the other 2 rounds, what we can do here, since this is braided cord and they braid very tightly, I'm going to go ahead and just add a slight little nug right here to kind of create the way the arm would look. Okay, now what we're going to do, we created the 2. Now we have to remove cords. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 1 round, and I'm going to remove 2 pieces of cord from this round here. Going to remove this one. It doesn't really matter which one you remove. You can remove them from anywhere as long as you remove 2 cords. And I'm going to remove this one. Okay, now I'm going to cut out the cords that I removed and tuck their ends in. Okay, now I'm going to do another round, and I'm going to remove 1 cord from this round. So I'm just going to remove the one that's in the back. Like I said, it doesn't really matter where you remove cord from as long as you remove them. And I'm going to tuck these in here so that the removal is less visible. Bless you. And now I'm going to complete my round. And after this round, you will repeat another round, cutting out just one cord. Now that I complete my round and take out the other piece of cord, I went around 4 pieces of cord. This is where I'm going to start making the hand. So what I have left is a total of 6 pieces of cord in my knotting cord. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn and go the opposite way on the 4 pieces of cord. After I've done that, then I'm going to make the fingers. So I'm going to do 1, 2. And now the 2 pieces of cord that were remaining at the bottom, I'm going to cover these 2 here in the middle. And now using just 1, because this is the middle finger, it's longer. And my other 1 piece of cord that was at the bottom, knot over here with 2 knots. And that is the hand. Now I cut off the extra cords. Make sure that your knots are tight and you secure them with glue. Now I want to show you guys what the hand looks like from the other side. This is what the hand looks like from the other side. So now give a little twist, twist here, and twist here. And repeat the leg and the arm step on the other side. This is just a little extra feature detail that you can add on to your koala. Get you some black body cord. You burn the ends. You just stick it on the very tip. Cut it off to where you would like it to be. Burn it and then squeeze, making a little fingernail tip. Be sure to like and subscribe, guys. I hope you enjoy this video. Bye.